Now, whether or not Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is going to hit $1 billion at the box office worldwide is a big mystery as of right now. And of course, as of right now, it stands at $571 million worldwide, and it's only going to gain more and more as we go throughout the month of January of 2020. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 is that we do know that this film went through many different changes and adjustments throughout production. In case you guys were not informed, a lot of reshoots were done by Disney and Lucasfilm to really make a different Star Wars movie, to really provide fans a different tone for the very end of the Skywalker saga that is so very important to the saga that was started back in 1977 by George Lucas. Now, with that being said, we do know that this movie took a lot of risks. There's a lot of things that people hate and love about this movie. You know, the same exact thing goes for me. There are a number of scenes in The Rise of Skywalker that really aren't all that great in my opinion, but it does have a lot of great scenes also embedded within this film. Is it a messy movie at times? Yes. But is it a decent Star Wars film? Absolutely. I think it's honestly the best of the three, if I really had to say that, to be honest. Now, on top of all of this, alright, we do know that a lot of these changes were done by Lucasfilm in order to restructure the entire plot of Episode 9. And what's rather intriguing is that it's explained that through many of the reshoots and rewrites of the film, during the months of August, September, and October, is when many scenes were deleted from the initial cut of the film, which was around the mark of 4 hours and 20-some minutes long, by director J.J. Abrams. Now, however, Disney wanting to cut out many scenes during the reshoots and to provide a complete different tone for them, of a movie to cater to a general audience more so to make the film do better at the box office. One of the big scenes that were deleted involved a battle between Ben Solo and Palpatine in the third act, where things would pick up after Palpatine drains the life force from both Ben Solo and Rey. Now, originally, Ben Solo was not going to be thrown into the pit on Exegol, but would stand up to Palpatine with, of course, with his mother's lightsaber, where Ben would actually fight Sidious using Leia's lightsaber against his red one. It's noted that Palpatine's lightsaber in the film was, in fact, a double-bladed red lightsaber, where the entire hilt was curved like Count Dooku's. This lightsaber design of Palpatine's was used in the film to fight Ben Solo on Exegol, and that Sidious at one point even used his iconic Force Scream attack against Ben Solo. Again, the iconic Force Scream attack, a lot of fans love that from Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Eventually, one of the scenes would pick up where Rey would actually throw the actual Anakin Skywalker lightsaber to Ben Solo, where he would now be using his crossguard and his mother's lightsaber at times, as well as Anakin's, switching in between back and forth. Ben Solo would fight Palpatine's double-bladed lightsaber now with his mother's saber and his red crossguard, eventually and quickly splitting the saber into two, where Palpatine was now left with a single-bladed red lightsaber. This was done as a way to create a parallel to what happens with Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace when his saber too gets split apart. The scene would eventually progress to where Palpatine force pushes Ben Solo into a wall, where Rey steps in to defend Ben Solo and clashes Anakin's lightsaber with Palpatine's, where now both Ben and Rey would fight Sidious. Now, there were even sequences shot in which Ben Solo would block the Force lightning by Palpatine and deflecting the lightning back at the ceiling of Palpatine's throne room that would cause rubble to fall down, where Sidious would actually have to use the Force to stop it from hitting him and throwing the rubble back at Ben Solo in an attempt to distract him. Now, the fight was supposed to mirror the duel between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul, where it was a 2-on-1 duel with tons of prequel trilogy choreography that would bring fans back to The Phantom Menace. This was all set to be a very fast-paced lightsaber duel for fans. Eventually, Palpatine meets his demise by the hands of Ben Solo and Rey, where he is struck down where both Ben and Rey impale their sabers into Palpatine's back. Palpatine falls down on his throne dead, where his red, shapeless spirit reveals itself speaking in an ancient language and takes over his personal Dark Acolyte, where the Acolyte now fights Kylo Ren. The fight between the Acolyte and Kylo was said to be rather brief, but very powerful, as it would be harder for Ben Solo to take on a younger foe for this time around that Sidious controls. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, the one thing that we can take away from this is that this movie was going to be very much action-packed, more so at the very end of Episode 9. I know a lot of you guys out there have a lot of criticisms about the final piece of Episode 9. We're talking about the throne room battle between the Knights of Ren. We have Palpatine's, Imperial Guards that were actually protecting him, similar to the Imperial Guards. And we also had the moment in which both Ben and Rey confront Sidious. We never got a legitimate fight between Ben, Rey, and Sidious, which was what we were gonna get in the initial cut of this movie. And that's actually rather unfortunate, because it would have been very nice to at the very least, to see a Skywalker fighting Darth Sidious. I think that's one thing that a lot of people are forgetting right now, is that they promoted Palpatine so much for this movie, and he doesn't even really get to fight a Skywalker. At the end of the day, all what happens between Ben Solo, who is a Skywalker, and Palpatine is that Palpatine uses the Force to lift Ben Solo up and says, "As I once fell, so forth the last Skywalker." And like I say, there's two meanings to the title, The Rise of Skywalker, one of which is more low-key, one of which is more obvious. The more obvious one is Rey calling herself a Skywalker. The more low-key meaning to the title is how Palpatine refers to Ben Solo as the last Skywalker just before throwing him into that pit on Exegol, where later on we do see Ben Solo climbing out of the pit, hence the Rise of Skywalker, which, yes, I know it's a little cheesy to say, but that's exactly what they were doing there as a low-key meaning to the title of Episode 9. Now, like I've always said before in the past, when we look at this movie, right, you can see that there are elements that were cut out of the film and how a lot of reshoots were done. There's a lot of back and forth in this film that doesn't really quite make a lot of sense. And when we look at the movie in its entirety, right, there's a lot missing from the reshoots that they did back during those months that we listed. And during those months, they had to restructure the entire plot of the movie. A lot of sacrifices were made by taking out very important scenes, such as the Dark Acolyte, portrayed by Matt Smith. And not just that, having this particular battle between Palpatine, Rey, and Sidious. Why I think a lot of fans would have loved this, it's a nice callback to The Phantom Menace. Who doesn't love The Phantom Menace out there when it comes to the final battle? To me, yes, the prequels, say what you will about them, it has a lot of flaws, and I mean a lot of flaws. But you can't deny that the prequel trilogy films have great highlight moments. The Phantom Menace, it's got Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon going up against Darth Maul. The Attack of the Clones movie has the entire duel between Anakin, Obi-Wan, Count Dooku, Yoda, right? It has those moments, and that's what's so great about the prequels, is that it has moments. Just how The Rise of Skywalker has moments. And it really could have been so much more, in my opinion. It really could have been way up there in my honest, fan favorite Star Wars movies. I actually have a top 3 still, and that is Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, The Empire Strikes Back. And obviously The Last Jedi is way on the bottom. And The Rise of Skywalker for me is definitely above both The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. I think it's a decent Star Wars film, it just has a lot of flaws. It does. There's a lot of scenes in here that I like and really do not like at all. And like I said in my initial spoilers review from over a week ago, it's like an emotional roller coaster for me. I love this scene, I hate this scene. Oh, I love that scene, but then I hate that scene. It was really like an up and down, kind of rhythm for me watching this movie. So, with that being said, I mean, this particular scene that was cut from the film by JJ, you can only imagine what it would have been like to have a Skywalker fighting Palpatine. It's one of the main reasons as to why I personally believe that they should have at the very least have had Ben Solo and Rey work together to destroy Sidious. It should have been an equal thing instead of just Rey fighting Palpatine. To me, I think that would have been better, kind of making things a team effort. Kind of like what they did in the prequels would have been a better option in my book. And that's exactly what they were going to do. This was when they had a lot of George Lucas scenes that he directed and wrote for the movie that were deleted. Around 30% of the movie was reshot during the end of the summer into the early fall of 2019. So, with that being said, guys, I would really love to hear what each and every one of you guys have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.